Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm talking to you about invisible speakers. That's right, invisible. How do they work? What do they look like? How do they get installed? So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the reason I'm standing in this little TV booth that we've got set up here is because we actually have 5 invisible speakers installed in this room. 3 at the front, 2 at the back for surround sound. I can turn them up here from this home theater receiver. You get a pretty decent sound, and I can't even see them. So let's move through to the other room and I'll show you what the speakers actually look like and kind of a little bit about how they work and how they get installed and that sort of thing. So today what I'm specifically talking about is the Sonance Invisible speakers, the second generation of invisible speakers that they've done. They have 5 different models. Here in front of me I've got the IS-10, which is the largest and most powerful invisible speaker that they make. So just before I get too into how it works and how it gets installed and that sort of thing, here are some quick specs on this speaker here. So all of their invisible speakers are 6 ohm speakers. They have a 170-degree field of dispersion, which is quite cool, because it means that basically the sound is going out really wide like this. It's not really focused in. When you've got a really wide field of dispersion like this, it kind of means you can't really tell where the sound is coming from, giving the illusion that, once again, that there are no speakers in the room. It just sounds like it's coming out of the wall or coming out of the air. So the IS-10 here, as I said, the biggest one that they make, it's got 200 watts of power handling. Frequency response is 35 Hertz to 30 kilohertz, and it's 87 dB sensitive. So how do these get installed and how do they become invisible? Essentially what happens is this gets mounted against the studs. There are a bunch of screw holes lining the perimeter of this that it uses to secure to the studs. And then the jib board is cut flush right up to the edge of it here. Once that is done, they skim over it with the plaster and get it all flat, and then you can paint or wallpaper over it. It's essentially the finished product. It goes in line with the jib board, plastered and painted over, and then it's vanished. They can be installed into varying thicknesses of jib board. Each set of speakers does come with 4 packs of multiple thicknesses of cardboard shims. That allows the installer to get the front of the speaker perfectly in line with the front of the jib board, and that makes the plasterer's job a lot easier. Some other things that you can do to make your job easier when installing it. This here is a simple cardboard space saver box, again provided by Sonance optionally, and you can install this essentially in position of the speaker while you're still doing the wiring stage, and that way you know nothing to go into that space because the speaker will be taking it up, and also helps you pre-drill the locations for all the screws, because this has got holes pre-marked out for all of it, so that all gets done, and then when you get the speaker in, the holes are already there for you. Once you've got this installed in the wall and the jib board is on there and you're up to the plastering stage, there is something very special about these speakers that not really any other brands that I have seen do. Inside this speaker, there are 4 steel pucks. Those can be located with this magnet tool. There is a kit here that Sonance sell that an installer can purchase, and it means that you get to dial these in perfectly. So this magnet helps us find, there it is, the steel puck. And once that is located, there is this tool here. Essentially what happens, once you have located the steel puck, and you get a readout of the exact thickness of the plaster that's over the speaker. And there is a specific range, a depth range of plaster that Sonance wants you to adhere to. So you put it on nice and thick when you're skimming over, doing your rough coat. Use this, find it. Okay, it's still a wee bit too thick. You can start sanding down with the great big orbital sander and just get closer and closer to the range that Sonance wants you to use, and the plaster thickness is going to be the same throughout, and that's going to allow the speaker to perform best. Obviously, if you're using wallpaper, all that would really happen is you would skim over the edges here to seal it to the jib board so that there is no indentation, and then the wallpaper would just go straight over top of that. It is also worth mentioning that, so the whole frame of this whole chassis is aluminium, so the magnet is not attracted to that, and the hardware that comes with it is all stainless steel, so that the magnet and the measuring tool aren't affected by that. That's why they really want you to use their supplied stainless steel hardware, because otherwise you're going to get a false reading. You're going to be finding screws rather than the magnetic pucks. And that's what you want to find, because that way you're going to get the best, most accurate measurement, the thickness of the plaster all the way across the speaker. You can find the speaker obviously by playing music through it. You can hear where the sound is coming from once you get close enough to the wall. But then this here, this is the template that comes with the speaker when you buy them. And it actually has positions here for the steel pucks, and you can use this to find that steel puck again. And then it has nice little sections written on here where you can write the thickness of the plaster down, and so you've got that on record. So how this actually produces sound, being a speaker, you can see all the way along this edge here, there is kind of like an elevated surface, and like the perimeter is a bit lower. That lower perimeter is where plaster would skim over to seal it to the jib board so that it becomes one continuous surface. And this whole elevated surface here is actually a movable diaphragm. If I flip this over here, at the top here, there is a tweeter motor, and then there is a big mid-bass motor here and a crossover section down here. And those are mechanically connected to this diaphragm. So essentially this big long rectangular diaphragm on the top, on the front side here, that is the driver of the speaker. And that's how you're able to do it with wallpaper straight over top of it, or with a thin layer of plaster and paint, because the wall itself has effectively become the speaker driver. Rather than trying to play sound through a layer of something like that, a layer of paint or through a layer of wallpaper, the wallpaper itself or the paint has become the driver, and that's what's producing the sound. It's really clever and it works really well. Now, obviously, this is not going to produce quite the same sound as a classic speaker. No one's pretending here. But I have to say, for speakers where I can't see any tweeters or mid-ranges or anything, they sound really, really good. We have a demo set of IS-8s here that have been installed in mock-up pieces of wall just so we can kind of hear the finished product. And they sound really, really good, particularly with that wide dispersion. You can walk all the way around the room and it sounds the same, and we can't really tell where the sound is coming from. So you can use these for 2-channel or home theater if you like. In the case of home theater, we would always prefer a set of regular in-wall or bookshelf or floor speakers at the front, but I mean, perfect for rear channels or height channels where you want to have that surround sound, but you don't want to look like you've got a whole bunch of speakers in a room. You can hide the surround channels and maybe the Atmos channels away by doing invisible speakers. Or if you want a little bit of background music in a large open plan area, but you don't want to have any speakers on display, a pair of these in the wall or in the ceiling, or even 2 pairs, is a perfect use of them because they're a great background speaker. If you want to hear them, we actually do have here in the shop a demo set of Sonance IS-8s. They have been installed in this mock-up piece of wall, which gives it the same effect as being installed in a piece of wall, and we can set it up in a 2-channel configuration or use it for TV or whatever we want to do. They work great for everything, and you can really get a good idea of how it's installed when you look at this one, because you can actually see the plaster has been laid straight over top of it. There's a nice wee window there so you can see how the different layers work. But yeah, that's our video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and as I say, if you have any questions about it, pop it down in the comment section and I'll catch you in the next video. Ka kite anō.